Hey everybody, we're gonna get going here. I know, it looks like it's live, but it's not. This show is put together. I am in Pittsburgh right now. That's right, get ready. We're gonna start the show. Tell your parents, wake your neighbors. It's time to start the Ian Bagg Bought a House show. A show about Ian Bagg. That's what I like about it. Hey there, gonna tell you about my weekend. It was fantastic. And start the music, Chris. Hey everybody, welcome to Ian Bagg Bought a House, a show about me, Ian Bagg, buying a house on the eastern shore of Virginia. And while my mother-in-law lives in it, I update that house or renovate that house or make that house better so it becomes a home for the people, and it becomes a vacation house for my wife and I. Meanwhile, we live in California, and I do a podcast about it. I'm here with my friend Chris. Chris is here.
Hello.
Hello, Chris. Renee was here, but he had to take a poop, so he left.
Yeah, usual, as per usual.
Oh, my God. His butthole's out of control. He's a celiac.
Yeah. Is that what the disease is called?
I think so. I don't know what it is exactly, but I think it's when your butthole overacts, I think is what a celiac is.
He has IBS.
IBS. He's got Ian Bagg Scott.
Yeah.
My friend that I grew up with, his name was Brian McConnell, and we used to call him BM. Just like BM. Hey, BM. We were kids. Anyways, I still call Brian McConnell BM McConnell. This weekend I was in Detroit, Michigan. I did a show at the Motor City Casino. It was a roast for Micky Redmond, and he is a ex-NHL player who does color commentary on the Detroit Red Wings station. It was an event to raise money for Jamie Daniels. Jamie Daniels is Ken Daniels' son. He died of an overdose from opiates. They are raising money to build a sober house and help people with insurance while they're trying to get sober, because the new scam is to use people while they're trying to get healthy, because that's the best time to take advantage of somebody is when they're sick. So they're trying to build that. Opioid addiction affects all of us. It may be you, it may be a parent, it may be a sibling, it may be a friend, but I don't care what anybody thinks. It's not just the homeless. It's not just some greasy guy from Florida. It affects everybody. So go to JamieDanielsFoundation.org, and you want to learn all about Jamie, who was a great kid, and his parents miss him a lot. So let's get back to the funny part of the evening. The funny part of the evening was we did a roast of Micky Redmond, and on that panel was my friend Jim Ralph, who is absolutely one of the funniest guys in hockey. He does all sorts of events and just makes me laugh, does impressions of all sorts of hockey people, and his timing is just funny and stupid, and he makes me laugh, and he's the one that got me a signed Bobby Orr poster. It's not even a poster, it's like a photo, so it's, he got me that because I'm fantastic, and showed my comedy to Bobby Orr. So fantastic. Had a great time there. Scotty Bowman was there. If you don't know Scotty Bowman, he's won a couple Stanley Cups as a coach. Mike Babcock was there. He's got one Stanley Cup. Marcel Dion was there. John Davidson was there. Doc Emmerich, and hello, Ian Bagg, the Canadian kid in Detroit, feeling like a fucking beast. It was fantastic. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, this week on the show we have Ryan Acero, who's going to tell us all about repainting and doing your garage floor. One of the things that I've been talking about for years but have not done because I'm too scared to do. Well, he did it, and he's going to tell us how to get through that. This weekend was so much fun. So I'm hanging out, and I like this, Chris.
Yeah.
So Marcel Dion was there, and Marcel used to play for the Los Angeles Kings.
Sweet.
He's a Hall of Famer. So many goals. It's insane. And he just looks at me in the elevator while all these famous hockey people are there, and he goes, "Did you play hockey?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Were you any good?" And I'm like, well, have you ever seen my name on an NHL team? He's like, no. I'm like, well, obviously I wasn't any good, was I? Well, thanks for calling me a shitty hockey player amongst everything. And then I was with Mike Babcock. I was having a picture taken with Mike Babcock, and he goes, "You're a big bitch, aren't you, Bagg?"
Now, I had a question. I feel like hockey players are the most down to earth of all the athletes. Is that true?
I feel like they are too. Sure, there's a couple of fucking, a-holes. But I feel like any athlete that gets it are just a joy to be around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like any athlete that gets that he is playing a game for a living that won't last forever, but he is going to be revered probably the rest of his life, gets it. The people that don't get it are the people that don't think it's going to end and think they're owed something. There's people out there that just there's so many athletes out there that are just, they don't think it's going to end, and they're going to be this is life forever. And it's not. It's you have won the lottery. You're getting to eat cake for breakfast, and that's not always going to happen. So those are the athletes that I love being around. And for some unknown reason, I don't know why, it seems like most 98, 99% of hockey players have that attitude.
Yeah, I've noticed that because I listened to a lot of different interviews with different athletes. Baseball players seem pretty cool too. But it just seems like hockey players are the most just grateful just to be part of the sport.
I think the best game in the world is hockey. I think it's just it's just insanely fun to watch. If you haven't been to a hockey game live, you got to go to a hockey game live.
Yeah.
I took my father-in-law, and I've tried to take my father to a game, but he's been to many. My dad used to watch the Trail Smoke Eaters, who won the world championships in the Olympics when he was a kid. So my dad thinks he's fucking genius, fucking hockey guy. But my father-in-law, I got to take to the Vegas Golden Knights, Pittsburgh Penguins last year. Oh, wow. And I can tell he wants to go to more games. Because when he talks about it, I can just see it in his eyes. He's got the addiction, and he's a big sports guy. Loves all sorts of sports, but I know hockey is just a different level to the other sports when you see it live.
I've only been once, and it was the most fun I've ever had. I've been to a basketball game. Mm-hmm. I've been to a pro football game. That was actually more fun just to watch on TV than it would be.
Well, that's the thing. When it comes to sports itself, the best one live is hockey. Sitting at a baseball game is fun with your friends. I don't find it overwhelmingly exciting as a sport. Yeah. I find it never, like, it doesn't, I don't get any drama from baseball. Like, once in a while there's a guy that gets, he could be the third one out, and it's 3-2, and oh my goodness, he's hit a couple foul balls into the stands, and it's crazy. But when the game is going 60 miles an hour and guys are changing on the fly and there hasn't been a whistle forever and it's just back and forth and they're just thumping the shit out of each other, it's impressive. Am I wrong?
No, because football has a lot of stops.
Well, football should be just watched on TV. It's made for TV, right?
It has way too many stops, so it seems crazy when you're watching on TV, but when you're watching it live, it's like, oh, I should have just watched this on TV.
I find that's why football has the most amount of fights in the stands. Yeah. Because it's too much time on your hands.
Yeah, there's a ton of just hurry up and wait.
I think professional sports, the big thing they need to realize is it can't be 4 hours for a game.
No, they need to. Yeah, a lot of games it should be like 2.5.
Yeah, 2 hours, 45 minutes at the most. People have a lot of things to do. Life isn't as easy as it used to be. Life is, because of the internet and because of being able to be on phones, and life doesn't give you that kind of time to just take off. I find guys don't golf as much because they just don't have 4 hours to fucking give up in the middle of the day. They got shit they got to do. So
yeah, I mean, how are they going to make business deals?
Business deals while you're on the course. What if you're a doctor? Remember?
All I've ever heard was that's how people make business deals. I have no idea how it works.
I don't. The reason they make business deals is because it's usually rich people that golf, which doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why rich people golf. It's kind of a weird sport, right? Rich people have poor people carry their stuff for them.
I mean, isn't that the way it always works?
Well, but in hockey, you don't know who's rich on the ice.
No, that's true because the athletes look kind of like normal dudes. I mean,
Right.
they usually don't have teeth, but
Yeah, that's normal.
yeah, actually, yeah, that is pretty normal.
That is pretty normal. That's pretty normal. What's funny about it is when I was a kid, the poor kids played hockey and the rich kids skied.
Yeah, like the '80s movies.
Yeah, yeah. But now that I look back on it, I'm just like, oh, we had quite a bit of money if my parents could afford my hockey equipment. My parents used to make me. I used to have to pay for my own hockey equipment. I would recycle beer bottles and beer cans. I'd walk. My dad would take me on the highway. Mm-hmm. I would get out of the car. He would drive like half a mile up and park, and then I'd walk through and pick up all the beer bottles out of the ditch. First of all, I think it's good for a kid to learn the price of that. So I'm glad that my dad did that for me, right?
Yeah.
So, but the second thing, holy fuck, did they drink and drive in my house? The fact that I was able to buy all my hockey gear from walking in the ditches along the highway and pick up beer bottles is insane. I don't know if it could be the same. It can't be the same anymore. There's just no way. But
I feel like there's too many laws now. But
yeah.
But back then,
get a case of beer. We're going to Prince Rupert. We got to get these drank before we get there. And it's not even a safe road when you're sober.
Oh yeah, is it icy and stuff?
Icy and curves and right along the water against a mountain.
Here's a thought. You know how athletes get better every year, every generation? Do you think that the drunk drivers, it was the same thing for your town for a while?
Oh, probably.
They just became like experts.
Well, yeah. You didn't. Also, when I was a kid, there was no airbags.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's how life is. They're just like they figure out how to get rid of some people.
The learning curve was real steep.
Oh, the real steep. Well, let's get to it. Let's welcome Ryan Arcero to our show. He lives in Las Vegas. He's actually going to help us out again next week. He's going to bring up something else that I won't bring up until afterwards. But he's going to talk to us right now about redoing your garage floor. Something that I'm terrified to do, that he's going to make it much easier to do. Welcome, Ryan. We're talking about flooring in your garage. What made you decide that you needed to paint your floor in your garage?
The hideous nature of my garage, just the oil stains, just everything sticks to the floor. I was sick of looking at it.
That's what I look at my floor right now. My nieces come over to the house when I'm not there. My mother-in-law's there, and they draw with chalk all over the place, and I will go there, and it's just covered in chalk, and then there's grease prints. How much cleanup did you have to do before you could even start?
The prep work is the pain.
Right.
The prep work is the hardest part of it. Besides painting, it's the filling in any holes that you have, the etching, the scrubbing of the floor. Just there's a lot of labor intensity that goes into getting the floor ready to be painted.
Okay. So as you say, so do you wash the floor first and then you find your cracks and stuff and fill them in, or do you fill the cracks in first and then wash the floor, or how does it go? What I
did, I filled in my holes, and then because they're uneven, so you have to sand them down. So there's really no point in cleaning it just to re-clean again.
Right.
So what I did was I filled all the holes, took a little while to sand them all down level because I did it during the middle of summer in Vegas. I don't know why.
Nice.
So I would just do that a few hours a day until it took me about 2 weeks to grind it all down. And then once I got that finished, then I started the cleaning process.
What did you use for the fill-in of the cracks? Just like, did you just mix up some cement and put it in, or what did you use?
They have it's like an epoxy Bondo almost, and it's a compound that you mix these two compounds together. It's almost like a putty, like a Bondo, and you just take like a spatula or something to fill in the holes. You just pour it in.
Yeah. So, and how long does it take to dry before you can start sanding those?
Probably about less than 24 hours. I was doing it the next day.
Oh, and what did you sand it down with? Would you like? What's weird is I have texture problems, and I can feel my neck hair going up from the sanding. I can just like, oh God. What did you use? Did you just use a belt sander, like
A circular sander.
a circular
Just,
sander?
yeah, not one of the ones that vibrates back and forth, just one that's a circular sander, so you can just get it as smooth as possible. And I use the 80 grit, and then to get all the hard spots and the high spots off, and then to smooth it out, I used the I think it was 100 or 120 grit.
Are you a person that's very detailed in everyday life? Like, are you over detailed? Are you
No.
detailed? You're not. So you didn't go insane. Like some people, if you have some sort of OCD, you could take a year for you to fix your floor, right?
Easily. You will keep finding stuff and keep finding stuff. There has to be a point where you're like, okay, this is good.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll never get it done.
And now you've done that. Now you've moved everything out of your garage, right? You've taken everything out because before you start, they say you have to just clean everything out of your garage. And you probably ended up doing you probably got rid of some stuff. You probably had a garage.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So which was probably good, and your wife probably enjoyed that and told you thank you for getting rid of that.
Right.
Now, do you because your next step is you're going to sweep, and then you're going to pressure wash the floor, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
do you put plastic around the edges of the garage to
No.
No, you don't.
No, the as long as you're not spraying the pressure washer directly on the drywall, it's going to be fine.
Okay, so you do that. Now, do you use a brush of some? You obviously use a brush, but do you use a metal brush? Do you just use a hard grit brush, straw hard grit, or what do you use on the floor after you've? Because I'm going over myself because this is how I am. I'm a little bit of an idiot. But so you pressure wash it, and then you put a soap on, right? And
Right, like
then
a degreaser.
A degreaser.
Yeah.
So where did you get that from?
Just the Home Depot.
The Home Depot. So you buy all these things together, same spot, same area.
Pretty much.
Okay. So now you scrub it, degrease it. Do you pressure wash it again or just rinse it?
I just pretty much rinse it as best as I can, because then I went back and I filled in all the holes, because I cleaned it out once to get all the dirt and stuff out, and then after I was done doing that, went back, filled in all the holes. And one thing I didn't do that I would have done different is when I was sanding is wet sanded instead of dry sanded, because it wouldn't have made so much dust.
Oh, that's interesting. So smart. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I learned the hard way, but live and learn.
Well, this is why I enjoy having people like yourself on, because you did it yourself. So there is going to be things that you look back on it and you're able to say to somebody else like me who wants to do this, do it this way. It'll be easier. That's what
Right.
that's what our community of Ian Bagg Bought a House is all about, learning and helping each other out. Okay, so now how long does it take for it to dry?
Like the garage, once I washed it.
Once you've washed it and once you're now before you start painting, because you don't just start painting immediately.
Right. No, I would give it a day, because some cement will hold water longer. It depends on the temperature. It's Vegas, so it's hot here, so it dries really fast. It depends on the time of year that you're doing it.
I think it tells you to do it in the summer, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
On the directions.
Because you have to do it completely dry.
Right. So you give it 24 hours. Now you're going to start to paint. Here's the questions I have for you, because I've gone in and looked at this. How did you pick out the brand and style that you wanted to do?
Okay, there's only a couple colors to choose from. You have the gray, tan, and then you got like a glossy black, and I think there's a copper color too.
Right.
So you don't have much of a color palette to choose from. So I knew I wanted the gray with the white, black, and blue chips.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went with that.
Do you remember what brand you used?
Rust-Oleum.
Rust-Oleum. Okay.
Yeah, I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials, and that was the brand that stood out to me the most.
The influencers were good on the Rust-Oleum.
Yeah, definitely. And it helped learning from their mistakes.
Right. Another way to do it. I skipped over something that I needed to ask, and that was, once you've cleaned it up, do you have second thoughts to go, oh, this looks pretty good, I don't need to paint it? Or are you like, oh, here we go?
No, it's still hideous. Because you have to right before, after you've washed it and everything, you have to acid etch it, and it comes with the Rust-Oleum. It comes with the product, so it's an acid etch. They tell you not to use muriatic acid. This is a citric acid.
Mm-hmm.
And so right before, when you're done and you're ready to paint, you have to wash your floors with this and get a wire broom and scrub it. And then I took my pressure washer, and even after that, you still want to paint it because it's not getting everything up, and you're going to paint over some stuff.
Okay, so now you're at the step where you have to citric acid edge it. What is what you called it?
Acid etch. Yeah.
Acid edge, and that's the final step before you paint.
Yep. And you have to make sure that it's completely clean. Like, you have to wipe your hands on it and there's no residue or anything on your hands. Then you're ready to paint.
Okay. How big a garage? You have a double garage, right? Is that,
yeah, 2-car.
2-part. Okay. How many like, does the citric stuff come with the paint?
Yeah.
Like, so how many of those kind of sets do you buy?
Okay, so they sell one that is it says it does 2.5-car garage. So they give you 2 bags.
Right.
And it comes with the acid etch. But what I did, I bought a single by itself too, because I felt everything that I watched, I felt that it wasn't going to be enough coverage. I didn't know how thick or how thin it was going to go on, and it seemed like everybody's biggest problem was how thick it was going on or how thin it was going on. So I figured, even though it said it does 2.5 cars, I better get a third just in case. And I'm glad I did get it.
And you can always, the great thing about Home Depot or Lowe's, if you don't use something, you can take it back. There's no,
Exactly.
Even if you lose a receipt, they'll give you store credit, so you
Yep.
get something else. So it's always best to go with a little bit more, and if you don't open it,
Sure.
take it back. So now you're going to start to paint it. What are the tools you have for painting this floor?
Really, an extended roller brush, one of the big long poles, and then I got a little roller to do the edges.
Right.
They say to use a paintbrush, but I found a roller does it just as good.
Do you do that?
Faster.
Do you do that first, or do you do that afterwards?
No, you have to do. Okay, here's the trick, Ian. From the time, because it comes in a bag, and there's 2 parts. There's part A and part B, and you have to roll part A into part B, and the bag kind of pops and it kind of mixes it together. You have to mix it. From the time those 2 start mixing, you have 45 minutes to use that product, and then you're done.
Oh.
So you're under the gun.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I don't like it. Just gave me shivers. I don't like this. I like pressure. I'm not good at doing it. I think these things, like, to start with. So now we've got a pressure. Okay, so you do you take out the big roller first. You do all of that, right?
Well, what I did, my wife helped me. There's the clue. There's
the person that's OCD.
Yes. Because I only had 45 minutes, what we did was I started on the edges, and then she took the big roller and started laying it out like that.
Right.
And then as you're painting, you have to throw chips on at the same time too.
Oh, so you have to throw the chips on as well. It has to be wet when you throw the chips on.
Correct. So
Okay.
you paint about, what I did, you know how you have like the 11 by 11 squares because it's in a big
Yes.
pie shape.
Yes.
So what I did was 1 11-foot by 11-foot section, threw all the chips on as we did it.
Right.
And then just went from there and worked our way backwards.
You just go.
I say
shing,
painting is a
shing,
2-man
shing.
job.
Yes. So don't do it by yourself, Ian. That's what
Yeah.
you're saying. Yes. Here's the deal. When we're in the summer, my wife likes to sit on the beach in her bikini and doesn't help me out at all at home. And if I try to get her to help me with these things, she kind of gets mad at me. So I'm going to have to find somebody else to help me with this.
Right.
Okay. So now you're doing these 11-foot sections, throwing the chips on, boom.
Yep.
And how long does it take before you run out of this and you have to do another one of these packages?
Well, what I did was I set a timer, and I gave myself the 45 minutes from the time I broke the bag. And
Right.
I had about 15 minutes to spare after the first bag.
Oh, so it took you about half an hour to do the first
Yeah,
bag.
it goes on really quick, really easy.
Okay, so now you do the second bag, you get all the way to the end, but you say you end up using a little bit more?
Right, because the double bag pack that I bought,
Uh-huh.
it was enough to do the entire 2-car garage. But the thing was, I had low spots. I could see where it wasn't as thick and it was thicker in some other spots. So even though I threw the sprinkles on,
Uh-huh.
I went back over it and painted even over the sprinkles.
Oh.
And what I did was I bought an extra bag of sprinkles of the
Oh.
paint chips.
So you can
So
sprinkle more on there.
exactly. And that's, you can't overdo it with those because, like I was saying, it covers all the flaws. So I know where the flaws are in my garage, but once you cover them, no one's going to see them because you're never going to get it perfect. I didn't do every single little, like you said, the OCD about it.
Right. Okay, so now you're finished. You're finished this whole thing. Now, is there an epoxy that goes over top of this?
No, because the epoxy's in the paint. It's an epoxy paint.
That's why you sprinkle them on while you're painting.
Right. But what I did do after I was done painting the epoxy floor, they do a high coat gloss with like a silica sand in it for its non-slip. So after everything dried, I went back 24 hours later and did the gloss. And it kind of makes it look like the paint chips are sealed inside instead of them being raised up above. This kind of puts a coat over it and seals it.
So, okay, so it seals it in and it's non-stick. It makes it a little shiny, but it's non-stick, non-slip. I'm sorry, non-slip. Yeah. Okay, perfect. And now, do you mind if we show a couple photos of your work that is finished?
No, go ahead.
Okay, we have them. We have them over here, and we'll show them up. Boom, there they are. That, my friends, that is what Ryan has done. That is what I want to do. That is what you can do, and that is we show there. And I have a picture of my garage floor that looks like hell, and this is what it can look like. Thank you, Ryan, for your help today.
Not a problem. Anytime, Ian.
Have a good afternoon.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. That was awesome. Ryan was great, actually. I like his chin hair. He's got some chin hair. It's got no mustache, so he might be Amish. He might be Amish. He might be ISIS. We don't know. I'm pretty sure he's just Amish. Definitely a rocker. Do you think he's a rocker?
He seemed like, he could have been at one time.
He could have been a rocker, yeah.
Yeah, now
we should have asked him what he did. We didn't even ask what he does. That was a stupid idea.
Yeah, he's just a cool dude that could do some really impressive work on.
I like that he got his wife to help him. I mean, one of the questions I should have asked is how many times did they get into a scrap while doing it? Because I feel like every time I do something with my wife, we have a little bit of a tiff. Like nothing major, but there's a little bit of a fuck you session go on in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't that what love is?
That is what love is. Just a big old fuck off session. Me and my wife are having a fuck off session. Oh my God. I can't wait to get home. I'm going to have a fuck off session this afternoon. Boom. Boom. I'm on fire with a fuck off session. Anyways, people, are you doing a project? Are you up to something? Are you doing something that I'd like to do? Would I like to know about it? Would you like to be on the podcast? Just send me an email at ianbaggshow@gmail.com. Also, you can go to Ian Bagg Bought a House on Facebook, or you can just go to Ian Bagg Comedy on Facebook, or you can just go to Ian Bagg on Instagram and say, hey, I've done this and I'd like to show you my project and maybe help you out. We're a community. We are people that have bought houses that are trying to make each other a little bit more knowledgeable, a little bit more confident about owning a house. There's nothing wrong with that. We should all live in the same neighborhood and have a lot of fun. I think Vegas would be the perfect place. And by the way, speaking of Vegas, I can't say it, but there's going to be something coming excitingly big from Ian Bagg involving Vegas. This weekend, I will be in Pittsburgh at the Improv, and on Tuesday the 17th, myself, Jeff Dye, and Ruben Paul, and Ivan Degg will be in Terrace, British Columbia, my hometown, where we'll do a fundraiser for my community. Every year I go up and do a fundraiser, and I bring some comics and a musician, and we raise money for my community, because I think that if you have a chance to do something that lets you be what you want to be, you should give back to the people that help you become that person. And I want to give back, and if there's some money that's needed for some sort of situation, we've helped people with cancer fight, we've helped people grow a community theater, we've helped other things go up there, we helped the arena build, we've raised money for all sorts of things. It isn't just sad things, it can be happy things too. So go to ianbagg.com. We'll be at the R.E.M. Lee Theater on the 17th. This weekend I'll be at the old Pittsburgh Improv, and I can't wait. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'll also be on DVE in the morning with Randy Bauman and the crew. They're great people. I look forward to seeing you all out there. Thank you for watching The Big Show or listening on your podcast provider. My name is Ian Bagg. We'll see you again next week.